Empowerment can be defined as the process of becoming stronger and more confident in one's own life, claiming control over one's rights. To put it simply, that's exactly what we aim to do at Safe Passage. As an empowerment specialist at Safe Passage, we support and educate survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. So we aim to walk beside them during their healing journey, providing different resources within the community, help finding housing, help finding employment, legal advocacy, ongoing safety planning. We respond to hospital responses for domestic assaults and sexual assaults, and anything and everything in between. We help them build their self-confidence, self-love, self-esteem, work on coping skills, set goals. The main thing is empowering them to be in control of their life.
You know, our role a lot is the immediate trauma response. We're there right after that initial trauma happens, so we're kind of more in the acute phase.
My role when responding to a hospital response is being one of the first responders within social work to go to the hospital with a victim that is there for a domestic assault or a sexual assault.
So my experience started with a man that I was in a relationship with for 2 years. My relationship with him was perfect on paper. Totally my type, musician, handsome, all those things. He had a daughter that he acted like the perfect father for. We were very happy on Facebook, but behind the scenes it was a very different story. He would yell and scream and throw things, and I feel like when you're in an abusive relationship, that's just normal. I didn't realize that there was a whole nother world outside of our relationship where those things didn't happen. So we were together for about 2 years. Like I said, it was verbal abuse at first, which then turned very emotional, and then turned physical. We were out one night and came home, and it was a lot of yelling, a lot of throwing things. The house was a disaster. He was mad. I never would have imagined that he was going to do what he did. He threw me off the bed, strangled me, pulled me down the stairs, strangled me again. I tried to escape to the neighbor's house. I did, and he ended up finding me at the neighbor's house and carrying me back inside the house and strangling me again. But I was able to escape, and thank God my aunt lived 2 streets over. I was able to escape to her house, and that's where we decided to call the cops and get them involved, because if it wasn't for her, I don't know if, I would have called the cops.
When I first started working with Bailey, she would come into our meetings thinking she was very crazy, that there was something wrong with her. She wasn't understanding why this was happening to her. She struggled with thinking that everything was her fault.
So I remember getting a call for a case at Dearborn County Hospital. There was a female patient that had come in that was involved in a pretty severe domestic assault that had serious injury. I remember seeing a very scared, broken down, fragile, just tiny girls laying in that bed that just looked very lost.
I stood beside her and, helped support and educate her through her journey of healing.
I felt heartache just looking at her, and when she told me her story, my heart broke for her, and I immediately just thought, I'm gonna do everything that I can to help her get through this. I wanted to make sure that she left there feeling like she had hope and she did not have to go back to that situation and to that relationship.
We're there to help them understand their rights as a victim of a domestic assault or a sexual assault. Let them know that we're there to stand beside them, that they don't have to press charges right away. A forensic exam is really important for our survivors because it's a way for them to gather the evidence, whether that be with pictures through a rape kit, the questions that they ask that are documented. Evidence that is gathered during this exam can be stored away and kept in a safe location that's locked for further use later on if they do decide to prosecute their abuser.
The main purpose for our exam and our role is to provide a medical forensic exam, to give power and control back to our patients, to empower them for healing and resiliency.
We do our medical exam, it's patient-led, so it's whatever they are comfortable with. They lead everything in the exam.
It was a really negative thing to be in the hospital for, like such a heavy thing. It turned into such a, like, not fun isn't the right word, but just a very lighthearted experience.
While we're there, we are there to support and educate the patient at that point in time throughout one of the most invasive exams that they could potentially have.
I remember getting upset at one point because I did have to go through and tell them exactly what happened, and I remember she grabbed my hand and they were just like, "You can do this," like very encouraging, like it's okay to be upset, like you just went through something traumatic, very validating of my feelings of what I had just went through. It was such a good experience, and I feel like I left there thinking like, well, these people really care.
You know, throughout the process of meeting with her, we went through weekly meetings for several months.
She was always very validating and would validate how I felt, even if I seemed crazy going into the meeting, or I felt crazy going into the meeting. It made me feel seen and heard and know that I'm not alone. When I first started this, I had no idea that there would be so much education and learning, and I feel like going through all of that education and really learning about statistics and what abuse is and how many different types of abuse there are, it really opened my eyes to be like, wow, you know, I'm not crazy. I actually was being abused from the moment we started dating.
I think a common misconception regarding domestic and sexual assault survivors is that if there are no bruises on their bodies, that the abuse isn't happening. However, you know, it has been proven that psychological abuse is actually a stronger predictor of PTSD in women than physical abuse is. Those scars within your mind are so much harder to overcome. It takes a lot of effort and energy to reframe your brain to see yourself as the person maybe you've never seen before, but especially compared to the person that your abusive individual has made you out to be.
So when I was in my abusive relationship, I won't lie, it wasn't always bad. There were good parts of it, and that's what kept me hanging on for so long. I was constantly walking on eggshells. I was always nervous. I feel like I could never fully be myself. Actually being in the situation, it's harder to leave.
I also think that a misconception is thinking that it only happens to certain people, that it's not going to happen to me because I've had this healthy lifestyle, I have great friends, I have a great support system. But domestic violence doesn't discriminate. Sexual violence does not discriminate. It can happen to anyone.
A lot of people want to believe that, you know, if we don't talk about it, it doesn't happen. And a lot of people don't realize how prevalent domestic violence and sexual assaults are in the community.
People in abusive relationships are always fearful that their abuser is going to leave them. That might sound crazy, but it is, because a lot of the times the person that is hurting you the most is actually the only person that can make it feel better.
Sometimes love isn't enough. I remember sitting with one of my friends through all of this and, you know, telling her time and time again, like, I just want to go back. Like, I love him so much, I just want to go back. And she finally said, you know, love isn't enough sometimes. And that stays with me every day because it isn't enough. I've learned that you need respect, you need trust, communication, all of those things, that it's not just love.
So for those that are supporting their loved ones in these situations, I would say stand by them, give them a place to rest, give them a shoulder to cry on as much as they need.
Hope is such an important word to me because for a long time, that's all I had to hold on to was, hope that things would get better. I was always hoping to feel safe again.
She is so much stronger than she thinks she is, and the resilience in her is outstanding. She set goals for herself that she has surpassed.
So today, I feel like a whole new woman. I feel happy, which I didn't feel for a long time. I feel confident. I have an amazing partner who validates my feelings constantly. I have a 7-month-old little boy who is amazing, and my life has completely changed, and that all started with me leaving the relationship. Life can get better if you allow it to. No matter what your situation, it can get better, and most of the time it will if you just hold on to hope.